Do you mind if I share a love story? I'm going to share a love story. It's about a young, it's 1956. It's a young Mexican boy. He grew up in a little rancho in Atascaderos. And this one time he didn't know anything else but his little pueblo. And all he wanted to do was find home. Home, that's all he wanted. He took a long drive. He ended up seeing concrete for the first time. He ended up seeing a taxi for the first time, and he saw an airplane. He didn't even know an airplane could exist. And he cried and cried and cried to his mother, please, I don't want to leave home. I don't want to leave everything I know. And after just clawing at this little plane, he gets on and comes to a place called America. He ends up in East Los Angeles, doesn't know where he's at. Doesn't even speak the language, doesn't have any friends, and all he wants to do is go back home. He ends up getting involved in something called the Chicano movement. He ends up helping to start an organization called Mecha. He ends up realizing, if I could say one thing for all of you, is that all of us, each one of us, has a role to play in writing the history of the world. That person then goes on, becomes a community college teacher, impacts 1,000 people for 42 years. That's 42,000 people. And the greatest thing he ever did for me was he gave birth to me. And it's my father. And the reason why I say that, because he finally went home 8 months ago to whatever you believe is home after you leave this earth. And the greatest thing he taught me was that all of us, no matter if you're well known or should be known or what have you, has a role to play in creating a better world for all of us. It's been the most difficult 8 months of my life, and I was trying to figure out what to do. I usually always have some kind of script I go into, but this whole thing started out of love. This entire conference, I remember when it was first born. I was with Fidel at a U2 show, and he said, man, I want to do something where justice for the forgotten. I'm going to create a youth conference. And from that love letter from a man named Bono to the heart of a man named Fidel Rodriguez, all of you are sitting here right now in literally about the same amount of time from my dad's passing to now. So when I'm walking in here, I keep thinking of my pops, and I keep thinking about Fidel, and I keep thinking about you. And the reason I think about you is because the only reason I'm holding this mic is because young people that look exactly like you decided to change the world. Whether it was my father in the 60s, whether it was this beautiful person in front of me with Black Lives Matter, whether it was the dreamers that said enough, history is always driven by youth. No matter what people want to tell you, it's youth. And the reason I'm so excited as a father of a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old is because this generation that I'm having the privilege to be around today, your generation is the largest in the history of the United States. What does that mean? That means there's 100 million of you right now in America. You're the most diverse generation we've ever seen. You're the most connected because of social media. You're the most educated. You're the most beautiful. You're the most imaginative. You're everything that every indigo child has ever dreamed is manifested in this room. So I'm going to end with this because I know we're running late, but I am only here because of mentors. And I saw Ramiro earlier, whose father, Luis Rodriguez, I'm blessed to have known for a very long time. And he taught me something that I will leave with you today. 3 years ago, when my son, Mio Amiri, was born, I got to witness for the first time, we all have ancestors. We are rooted in a place called Africa. And what they teach us in our native and African blood is that every time you're born in this world, you come into this world physically with your hands really close. And I'm telling you, as someone to just witness this with the birth of my son, his hands were so tight that I couldn't even put my finger in it. Those of you that are parents have seen this. And you ask yourself, why? Well, when you come from a spirit world, you're carrying your gifts in your hand. And the purpose of all of us as a family, as a community, is to support each other, to open up our hands and do what? Share, but then what? Receive. I can only grow if I'm sharing and receiving. And so I'm asking you today, as you go through these workshops, and even me as I'm still growing, is what is your gift that you're going to give to the world? The way that you find your gift is you find what you're passionate about. Whatever you're so passionate about that you can't sleep because you're thinking about, that's why you're here. That's going to be your mark on the history of the world. That's the reason why your ancestors decided somewhere that I'm going to give birth to this beautiful young man or woman or they person in the room. And so I end this by just saying that remember what home is. Home is wherever your heart wants you to go, and hold those that have raised you. Because right now what keeps me alive is the memory of my father. Because I know that whatever I do, I have some angel or ancestor, whatever word you want to use, smiling and saying, Michael, you can go just a little bit more. And so I love you very much. I continue to help you, hope you that you continue to write your own love letters, because the love letters are what makes life worth living. And so thank you for your attention. Continue to find your gift, continue to bless the world. And I'm just completely honored to be in your presence today.
One more time, give it up for Michael De La Rocha, Revolve Impact.